What's going on, guys? Welcome along to today's video. I'm Matt with DSR, and as you can tell, today we're taking out the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT Plus for 2024. Now, at the end of 23, I named the GT Plus my personal best bike for under £15,000. Now, unfortunately, for this year, I won't be able to put it in that same category because they've tipped the scales over 15,000. This bike coming in at £15,016. I know, unfortunately, it still can't be in the same bracket. It's just how it is. But for that price range, what are we getting? Well, let's start in the heart of this thing, in the engine. This is the CP3 engine, similar to the MT-09, with 890cc, 117 brake horsepower, and 93 Newton meters of torque. I say similar to the MT-09 because it's the same engine, but it's tuned differently. It's definitely a more manageable, touring, everyday kind of commuting bike, whereas the MT-09, it's a bit of a beast, it's an animal, and you can have a hell of a lot of fun. This just doesn't give the exact same amount of feeling as the MT-09, which is a shame, but this still has a really solid engine in it. Now, for the GT Plus, there are only two main colours. This one here, which is the Power Grey. It's black grey with a little kind of bronze stripe. I really like this colour. I think it looks very nice. The other one is going to be the Icon Performance, and that's going to be your kind of your silver, black and blue combo. I think either of those colours are actually pretty good. Me personally though, I'd still go for this one. And what's nice to see with Yamaha is they don't charge any more for different colours, so it's still going to be the same price, but either go the Power Grey or the Icon Performance. A couple more things we'll talk about before we get out and test this bike on the road. We've got a 19 litre fuel tank, going to get you plenty of miles. And then looking at the suspension, and at the front we have got KYB forks with a fully adjustable electronic front and rear. To adjust the rear suspension, it's on the left hand side of the bike. We've got twin 298mm discs at the front and then a single 267 at the rear. And with this bike is we actually do have radar linked unified braking, some random name they've called it. Basically this thing has got a radar, so if you are braking and the bike deems that you're not going to brake in time before hitting the car in front, it will then apply a little bit extra brakes for you. Last thing I'm going to talk about is the seat height. So on this you've got a seat height between 820 and 835 mil. Being 6'1", I've got both feet flat on the floor and a nice bend in the legs. So pretty much any size rider is going to be able to ride this comfortably. Well, for me, that's enough waffling off the bike. I don't know about you, but let's jump on it and see what we think of it.
A couple of things I do like, and one thing I don't like. I like that it comes with the panniers as standard, but it's a side-loading pannier. If you've ever had these, you'll know as soon as you open it, stuff just falls out. Unless you've got it in a single bag that goes in, it just falls out and it does me nutting. I much prefer top-loading panniers. Another thing I like, the passenger seat is big. It is big and it looks comfy, so Zoe would have no problem sitting on that. Sometimes you get like these little skinny passenger seats and they're just not designed for taking anyone. And then just looking at the shape from the rear, the rider seat is nice and wide at the back and then tapers in towards the centre of the tank. And then the centre of the tank is nice and skinny and then it tapers back out. So that means when you are sat on it, your legs tuck in nicely to the tank, like so. And it means your crotch, you can have your legs kind of closer together. So when you are trying to put your feet down, the tank isn't forcing your legs out and the seat isn't forcing them out, which then means you need to be a little bit taller to be able to get your feet down properly. But yeah, where it's got a nice skinny seat and tank section, it means that you can get your feet down nice and easily. I am in sport mode, but the throttle response is super smooth. It just really gently picks up, and the same with the clutch as well. It's a very nice, easy clutch pull, and the biting point is just perfect. Well, let's look at some of the electronics on the GT Plus then. Starting off at the front, we've got LEDs all round, but it's also nice to see is we do have cornering LEDs. So this just kind of adds on to the package this bike provides, being that all year round touring style bike. We've got a large 7-inch TFT screen, full colour, and now this thing does have a full map navigation on it. Unfortunately, it is not as seamless as Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. This thing runs off the Yamaha My Ride app and the Garmin for the map. So you need a Garmin subscription to be able to use the maps on this, which I find a little bit annoying personally. You've got the bikes out there with Apple CarPlay. You don't need any subscriptions or anything. You just connect your phone. What's nice to see with the screen is there are 3 different themes that you can have. And to get to them simply, you go into the menu, swipe over a few times so you get to themes, and then just push up or down. And then you can just select whichever one you want. We got 4 different rider modes on this. We have got rain, street, sports, and custom. Obviously, custom's going to be the one you can go and change the parameters. Just below the screen, in the centre, is actually a USB-A charger point as well. So if you do have your phone or another sat-nav on your handlebars, you can get power to it all the time. Or like me, if you're running a action camera, you can then just power it via that. It's that awkward time of year. It's 5 to 7 degrees at the minute, so it is cold. I've got the thermal liner in, and my pin lock is starting to fail, and I'm starting to steam up. Time for a new pin lock, I think. This bike does come with cruise control, but what's nice to see is this does have the adaptive cruise control. So that means it's got a little radar at the front. When you activate your cruise control, let's say I'm going to put this on to 100 miles an hour. Let's call it 60 because I'm on a 60. But there's a car in front of me. The bike will check the distance between me and that car, and it won't let me get within a certain distance, and then you can adjust how close or far away that distance is. So at the minute I'm doing 41 miles an hour. Cruise control is set to 60, and then I've got the distance on 3 out of 4. So if I move that to 1 out of 4, you can see the bike is speeding up. We're now 46 miles an hour, 48, and I'll get to that distance because I've said level 1 out of 4. It'll get to the distance and then it will hold it. It may drop me down a little bit in speed. Now some people hate this concept of the adaptive cruise control, and they should be like, yeah, you should be paying attention all the time. I don't disagree, but I had this on a rental VW when I went to Europe, and when you're on the motorway and you just sat there, it's fantastic. It really is. You can just set it to 70, and then if some idiot pulls in front of you, it will slow down if you haven't seen it or reacted in time. So it means we've got no excuses for getting caught speeding. And then now, so I'm going to go to 4 out of 4 distance, and the bike is now going to slow me down until I get to that set distance from me to that car in front. Heated grips as standard, again a very nice added feature. To get to the grips option, you need to go into the menu and then just swivel over, and then you can then just push it up between 1, 2 or 3. And what's nice to see is when you come out of that menu screen, as soon as you push back into it, it will go back to the last screen you had, which obviously for me is the heated grips. So you don't have to keep faffing around every time you want to adjust the temperature. At the minute, the only thing I'm not really too keen on is with the switch gear on the left hand side, you've got your indicator, which is quite close to my hand, and then the menu jog dial, it's quite big, but it's almost in line with the indicator. So sometimes, and actually my thumb comes out, I feel a jog dial type item on the switch gear, and I touch it, and it turns out it's not the indicator. That's what I mean. Like, it's, if I put my middle of my thumb on the indicator, the tip of my thumb is touching the jog dial. One of those things, it's muscle memory. If you own this bike, it won't take too long before you know how far to reach. But it's just one of those annoying things when you are jumping on bikes and they've got big jog dials. That isn't the indicators. We do have Yamaha's Gen 3 quick shifter in this, same as we do as the MC09, and that means that when you are going up or down, you can accelerate and shift either way. Whereas normally I accelerate and I can only shift up, whereas now if you want to, you can shift down as well. Now I'm not saying they are, but the handlebars just feel just a little bit skinny, a little bit close. I don't know if that's just because I've kind of gotten used to the big adventure bike style handlebars where you've got a nice wide grip. They just feel a little bit. I'm not saying they are. Don't get annoyed at me. I know this has got the same engine, the same CP3 engine as the MT-09. But obviously it is tuned differently. And I'd love to have the ability to put this back to its MT-09 bloodline. Like, don't get me wrong, this bike is easy to ride, it's refined, it's smooth, it's comfortable, and that's everything I want when it's got the touring cases on and I'm off touring. But on like a Sunday ride where I've got the bags off, it's still going to be a comfortable bike to ride, but I would just like the ability to unleash the MT-09 power and the grunt and the fun factor onto this. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this bike is slow. It's not. It's quick and it's smooth, but it's not grunty, and it doesn't give me that warm fuzzy feeling and make me laugh like a little girl when I'm giving it a fistful. Whereas I can tell you the MT-09 does. Although the quick shifter itself, the action of the shifting is smooth, the physical shifter, it's quite hard to push. Like, there's some bikes when you just touch it and it literally just blips and it just boop, boop, boop. Whereas this, you do need to kind of give it a little bit of force to change the gear. Again, it's a new bike, it's 500 miles. Maybe just because it's new and it just needs braking a little bit more, or it might not. I don't know. Now, I'm 6'1" and 115 kilos, so I'm quite tall. This does have a nice, good size screen, and it is adjustable one-handed by pinching at the front. But back there, when I was doing 60, even at its highest position, I was getting quite a lot of noise and a lot of buffeting on the helmet. That would get tedious if I was doing touring. If I was going touring. Now, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if there's bigger screens, because my vision wise, there's still probably 5 inches before the top of this. And that's at its highest position at the minute. So I could definitely raise this up if I, as in, get a bigger screen and bring up the height of this without it impeding in my vision. For me personally, that's what I would do. These back roads are quite bumpy. The brakes are nice, progressive on this, and there's not too much dive on the front suspension either. Being 223 kilos, it's not the lightest bike, but it's also not the heaviest. It's kind of that middle ground, but you don't feel the weight. It feels nice and light between your legs, flicking it around when you're in the car park, manoeuvring it. It's easy enough to manoeuvre it around in the car park as well. As standard, it also comes with a centre stand, and because it's not so heavy, it is easy to put it on the stand. Sometimes with the GSA, it's a bit of a pain in the arse to get it up. Me personally, I rarely use the centre stand, but where this has got a chain, it's actually quite nice, so you can do your chain maintenance, especially if you are out touring, without having to like roll the bike forward a couple of feet each squirt of chain oil. Is this the most exciting bike? No, but I'd caveat, I'd say that it's more exciting than the Kawasaki 1000 SX, which is a very similar kind of platform and a similar price point. I think it's a little bit cheaper than this. But if I had to pick between the SX and this, I'd go for this. This for me is just a little bit more comfier riding position. I love the sound of that triple engine. It's got a really nice kind of triple whir for the first part, and then after that the exhaust note then takes through. So you've got like engine at the start and then exhaust at the end. Handles really nicely. if you're looking for a comfortable bike to ride all year round, commuting, touring, this is a fantastic bike and a fantastic platform, and I think just everything you get within that price point, I think is really good. Someone actually commented on my community post this morning when I jumped on this, saying about it being overpriced, and I've asked them what makes it overpriced. 15,000 for everything you'll need, other than maybe a map subscription, or like I said, just grab yourself a phone mount. And for me, I'd get a taller screen. But apart from that, 15 grand, you're all in. You're done. I personally think it's a good price point for everything you're getting. And let's not forget, top tier BMWs and Ducatis, you're hitting 23 to 28,000 pounds. I could almost buy 2 of these for one of those bikes. Like, this isn't a 500 or a 700cc. This isn't something you're going to get particularly bored of and want a little bit more from. Do 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 do. In town, out of town, it doesn't matter where you are. It just works. One thing that would be nice is if they put hill hold control on this. It's just something you kind of get used to when you've got it. Well guys, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. More importantly, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, if you want to jump on one of these, head on over to Branson's in Yeovil. And you can. Nothing else to say, but until the next one, ride safe.